a moment to specifically recognize and thank the following individuals. Mr. Chahana, I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you so much, the chairperson of Startup 20. Mr. Mojalifa Mohoto, he has not heard me. I'm recognizing you. Our panelists, the task force members, and community representatives who are here. And most importantly, our students and community entrepreneurs who happen to be the heartbeat of this gathering. Your presence signals a commitment. Your presence signals hope. Your presence signals change that is firmly in motion. So, today we activate Startup 20 here at Univen. Here we are also bridging policy and practice. We are linking research and entrepreneurship. We are igniting partnerships that can transform lives. And our focus is very clear. The focus is township and rural entrepreneurship. So, because of this is about real people. This is about real communities. It is about real opportunities. Now, let me become the African that I am. There is a proverb which I think aligns very well with what we are trying to do today. And the proverb reads as follows: a tree does not grow in a single day. So here we are activating, we are starting up. So policies alone are not enough. Knowledge alone is not enough. Action, and we are talking about deliberate, intentional action, is required. We are here to plant the seeds. We will nurture the seeds tomorrow. And together, we'll watch those seeds grow into strong trees that shelter and sustain communities. This event is very crucial for us as a university. We are having this event at a time when the university is increasingly recognizing its role in driving transformation. Our students are not just learners. They are innovators. They are creators. They are problem solvers. And we are also making them leaders. Hence our motto, creating future leaders. So by hosting SU20, we declare that Univen is a hub where research, innovation, and community needs converge. And this is very urgent. It is critical. But why is this so? It is because township and rural enterprises are engines of job creation. They are engines of poverty alleviation and reduction. They are also engines of economic resilience. So, and as the saying goes, until the lion learns to ride, every story will glorify the hunter. So we are here to write our own story as we start up. So for too long, rural entrepreneurs' stories have been told by others. Today, they write their own. Today, they define their own narratives. And today, they inspire resilience, innovation, and success. Now, at the University of Venda, let me now also let the colleagues, your colleagues, know the direction we are taking. The University of Venda had its strategic plan adopted by the University Council 2 weeks ago, and that strategic plan, 2026 to 2030, which is aligned to our Vision 2040, has got 4 very significant thrusts, and you will see how this event fits into that equation. The first one is student-centeredness. So the fact that we are creating this platform for students to come and be part of this particular journey is one demonstration of that. So in addition to that, we see this as an opportunity for experiential learning for the students and also for them to have a better understanding of entrepreneurship. Strategic thrust number 2 talks about research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. You really place this whole event into that space. And this is about transforming knowledge into solutions that matter, solutions that solve, that deal with societal issues. The third strategic thrust is people, health, and the environment. You are all people. So, in this respect, we look at One Health, the interaction between the health of the animal, the environment, and people, that when we do our business, we must never lose sight of the fact that the environment needs to be nurtured. The same way you nurture a child to grow into a healthy baby. And the last strategic thrust is internationalization and partnerships. When we were seated there, Professor Nechandama was saying we must run after them. Then I said, no, we are not running after them, they are here. So we are not running after them, they are captured. So we are talking about global connections here. We are talking about knowledge exchange, and we are talking about collaborative impact. Now let me digress a little bit. It is very rare that we normally have this sort of combination of people that are before us today, where you bring people who are in business, you bring government, you bring students, you bring academics, grassroots community members, all in one place and focusing on one particular issue. Now, and lest we forget, we also have two niche areas that define who we are as a university. The first one is One Health, which I have already spoken about. And the second one is African heritage and indigenous knowledge systems. This area is pregnant with heritage. It's pregnant with opportunities. We are in the Vembe Biosphere Reserve. The question is, how do we use this event to breathe life into identifying those opportunities that are in our space for the benefit of society? So in this space, we can talk about culture, we can talk about tradition, and we can talk about wisdom. When you dance to Chikona, Marende, Shigubu, all those ones, is it just about entertainment? How do we turn those into opportunities for, like proper living rather than just entertainment? Now, let me also turn to you, the integral participants. Our approach today should be with curiosity. Are you curious enough? It should be with creativity, and you must also have the courage to take the action that is required. So the sessions, the discussions, and the scenario planning are not formalities. They are supposed to be platforms for your voice, your ideas, and your vision to be amplified. So remember, wisdom is like fire, and people take it from others. So you take wisdom from others. Are you ready to harness that wisdom? Ask yourself, what solutions will spark today? How will they ignite change in your community? And what risks are you willing to take to push boundaries in township and rural innovation? Your ideas, your courage, your experiences are very crucial. They are exactly what South Africa needs. Now, let me also talk to the academic audience in this room. We enjoy doing things, but never forget that you are in here wearing the hat of an academic. What is it about this event which is crucial for you as an academic? Approach today with curiosity, that's what I said. So, colleagues who are in academia, our responsibility is not only to observe, it is to act. It is to create knowledge that transforms society. So township and rural entrepreneurship can thrive if our research provides evidence, frameworks, and practical solutions. So knowledge is like wisdom. It is like water in the sand. So I challenge the Univen scholars to focus on 6 key areas. That's the way I'm seeing it. 6 key areas. 1, the first question is, how can universities drive entrepreneurial growth in rural areas? That can be a topic for a master's research or even a PhD out of this conversation. How do we bridge policy and practice? What gaps exist between policy and reality? And how do we close those gaps? That's the second question. The second question is about women and youth who are said to be at the margins. The question is, how do we empower them to become leaders? The fourth question is about entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial ecosystems that are in the periphery. So what opportunities exist in Limpopo district, for example, in Limpopo, in Southern Africa, on the continent? What sort of opportunities exist, and how can we leverage those opportunities? Now, universities are also supposed to be catalysts for rural innovation. The question is, how can engaged scholarship, which is our vision as a university, how can engaged scholarship translate into real societal impact? And the last question that I'm asking to you academics again, this is about measuring impact beyond GDP. How do we capture social capital, innovation and resilience, and use them to drive societal change? These are not just academic exercises. They are invitations to you to co-create new futures. And the last part, which I would also want to highlight, for those of you who are in government, who are in the policy-making environment, and again, I'm working together with the academics. What sort of guides for practitioners and communities are we going to generate through the content that we are going to get out of here? In my wild thoughts, I'm saying knowledge must reach those who need it most. And those who need it most are those who are in practice. So, I propose again, can't we have guides labeled as follows: starting small, but dreaming big? And in this case, we are talking about practical steps for grassroots entrepreneurship. The second one is the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Toolkit. When we live here, there are so many questions that we would want to have in order to take action. But if you have got your toolbox, you know when to pull out a particular tool and use it to act. So here I'm talking about checklists, I'm talking about case studies, and I'm talking about success stories. How do we capture them so that we use them to ignite society? The third guide is policy made simple, translating technical policies into practical opportunities. There are so many policies that we throw around, some policies that people don't even understand. How do we simplify them so that they are really serving as guides rather than just keeping them as policies? Then from waste to wealth, we talk about the circular economy and sustainable income ventures. We're discussing again issues relating to your green energy. How do we, with all the debt, at one time people were saying Toyando is dirty. And what were you doing with the debt? As we speak right now, we are burning, in the dump site there, we are burning the gas that is coming out there, which could have been converted into energy that is used in the homes. So from waste to wealth, how do we turn that into a business opportunity? Now, these guides will translate knowledge into action. I know you no longer want to see me standing here, so let me now, save your anger by saying, today is not the end. Today is the beginning. And again, as you might have already seen, I love proverbs and idioms because they anchor the Africanness that we are, because all these businesses are operating in an environment that are rich in culture. So if you want to go fast, go alone. I'm sure you are familiar with this. And if you want to go far, go together. So we choose to go together, but we must ask ourselves, how will we measure success a year from now? This must not be just a talk show. How will we measure success a year from now? What commitments can we make today that will resonate in 2030? And I'm deliberately saying 2030 because we are still talking about 2030. NDP 2030, Univen is also talking about 2030, although now we are talking about Vision 2040. So let us ignite actions that transform local economies, inspire national development, and influence global change. With these words, colleagues, allow me to officially welcome you to the SU Univen activation session, and may this session be fruitful, inspiring, and transformative. You are now allowed to clap hands for me so that I can sit down. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Francis, for a wonderful opening and welcome address. You challenged us to be curious, to be creative, and to have courage to take action. And I believe that everyone who is here, they are going to take one or few lessons, and then they will use their courage to take action. Thank you, Prof. And we are now moving to the second item in our program. And I believe that everyone scanned the program. And then the second item is the keynote address by the chairperson of Startup 20, Mr. Vuyani Jahana. Before he starts, I would like to give a brief introduction about the man standing in front of us. Mr. Allow me to do it briefly.
Yeah, maybe I can do it.
Yes. Mr. Jahana was appointed the chairperson of the Startup 20 by the Minister of Small Business Development, Honorable Stella Ndabeni, to chair this important work of policy around entrepreneurship and startup. He brings a wealth of experience. I want the young one to learn to this crucial role with more than 25 years of leadership in the information and communication technology sector. He is a seasoned business transformation leader and previously served as a group chief operating officer and the chief executive officer of Vodacom Business within the Vodacom Group. He also held the role of chief executive officer of the South African Airways, where he spearheaded a critical restructuring effort. Currently, Mr. Jahana is the founder and CEO of Elita Communications, a company dedicated to delivering super-fast, affordable broadband to undeserved peri-urban and rural communities. He is currently the chairperson of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, a key institution driving South Africa's scientific, industrial, and technological innovation. Mr. Jahana's work is timely step as South Africa assumes the G20 presidency and seeks to elevate Africa's voice in global economic governance. Let's give him a round of applause. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Now I know that the Program Director here is accorded the same status like Imbongi in my home, because Imbongi you can't stop, right? So I can see now the Program Director can't stop. Professor Francis, Prof. Chilizi, Mr. Mohoto from Department of Small Business Development, Prof. Nachandama and Elise Kukaboro. Business people who are here, the rest of the leadership of the university, students, entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here to share with you the work of the Startup 20 in this important activation. Prof, I'm actually especially enthused and excited by the fact that we talk student entrepreneurship. It's an important dimension of the Startup 20. With me, I've got leaders of the task forces who are here, the deputy chair of the Township and Rural Enterprise, Mr. Motibi is here, and I've got my team from 22 on Sloan that provides secretarial function to support the work that we do as Startup 20. We all know that South Africa is hosting the G20 presidency and has adopted three major themes: the theme of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. The Startup 20 as a G20 engagement group that is focused on startups and SMEs within the G20 context has embraced these themes of the G20 presidency. We have actually broken them into five major task forces: the foundation and alliances, where we are focusing on policy instruments and enablement that will drive global entrepreneurship. There we've looked into accelerators, incubators, university entrepreneurship, what needs to be done, what should the global leaders, what policy instruments should they enact to make sure that we can create the right environment for global entrepreneurship to grow and thrive. So the specific aspect of student entrepreneurship is a very, very important element. Hence, I think being here, listening to you today is going to help us shape that element a lot more stronger, because we have engaged ecosystem, but we haven't gone to the student entrepreneurship chapter specifically. And Prof, being here, hosted by you and in your university, gives us opportunity to gain deeper insight to shape the policy position. The second element of this task force is around finance and investment, where we're looking at new instruments that can be adopted to actually deal with the underlying risk of lending to startups and SMEs in order to unlock global capital flows into this area of the economy that is very important, that's creating jobs across the world. Some of the early themes that are coming through is around blended finance, but with a lot of focus on technical assistance that actually deals with the underlying risk of investing in SMEs. So we know that there are tools like credit guarantee schemes and other financing instruments. They deal with risk. However, they don't deal with the underlying risk. The underlying risk in a business is largely driven by market access. If I produce the product, am I going to have the market to sell and at the right price? At the same time, do I have the right production proficiency to produce at the right price? The colleague we met, he spoke about, as a farmer, he produces. He says he's got his own product now on crushed chilies. We were talking earlier on this morning. Key is whether he can produce crushed chilies at the right efficiency level so that he can be profitable. Now, a lot of SMEs struggle at the level of proficiency. So market access and agricultural or production proficiency becomes super important. Hence, this issue of direct intervention with technical access is being lifted by the task forces as an important intervention in terms of blended finance. So that's what we talk about in the finance and investment area. The fourth task force is around trade and market access. How do you make sure that startup and SMEs have access to market? And here, there's emerging themes around creating a global common market for startups, where a new trade regime across the world is developed that actually enables that products from startups can actually reach different parts of the world without the normal restrictions of trade and protectionism. So these are kind of themes that are coming through from that particular task force. One of the key things that is important is if the leaders adopt this instrument, how do you make sure that it's well governed, it's not open to abuse, but also can be executed? Some of the instruments that are being proposed are around startup passport, which is going to be a globally accepted profile of what a startup is, and therefore there would be a registration profile. If I'm a startup here, I'm exporting to the US, to qualify into the common market portfolio, I would have to be understood to be the SME or a startup, so to speak. So defining the global framework for identifying what a startup is, and also to be able to make sure there's balance of trade is super important. So that task force is on trade and market access is working on this, and to be underpinned by digital capability. We also have a task force on inclusion and sustainability. So we talk about young people, women, and people with disabilities. How do we make sure that they participate? One of the key instruments we have identified that will deal with global inequality is when we deal with economic inclusion, where opportunities to produce by both young people, women, and people with disability are actually created, and there's much more enablement. So there's a lot of work that task force has put into the draft documents so far. One of the early thoughts that have come true around people with disabilities is around possibilities of creating virtual economic zones. We all know today that an economic zone is defined by a particular industrial or geographical location. But if you look at people with disability, mobility is an issue. They trade they could easily trade in the backyards. The new form of production now is no longer, facilities for production are no longer necessarily going to be in factories. So we are mooting this idea of a virtual economic zone that by virtue of being a business owned by a person, by a person with disabilities, you should be accorded the same benefit that would be accorded to a special economic zone, regardless of you not operating in that zone. So you are working on the whole issue of reasonable accommodation, also enabling those businesses to succeed. I think one of the major task forces is around township and rural enterprises. I think the professor has already highlighted how do you deal with ecosystems that are in the periphery? How do you strengthen them? How do you make sure that they can actually participate? As I was driving from Johannesburg to Venda last night, I was reflecting on just mobility. Mobility is a critical part of logistics. If you don't build a logistic network that integrates periphery with the center, then you actually already ostracizes those businesses that sits in the periphery. So one of the key things is how do you deal with transport infrastructure, especially that will drive the mobility of goods and services, even for SMEs. So it's an important element. Themes that are coming out of this are around infrastructure. I speak about logistics, road infrastructure. There are businesses there are dairies in rural areas that at times struggle to actually transport milk from their production base to the center because of access roads. How do we strengthen that public infrastructure to make sure that you are not disenfranchised by virtue of operating in a deep rural areas, yet you are more than just an enterprise. You are almost a social enterprise, so to speak, that still has to be financially viable. So this task force is looking at that. Broadband is seen as the biggest bridge between urban and rural, rich and poor. How do we make sure that the network capillarity of broadband services, each village has got access to internet at scale, and so that SMEs and communities can participate in the new digital economy. The key issue is that unless the broadband aspect is being dealt with specifically, a new form of inequality across the world is going to continue, it's going to emerge. Universities are going to transform from being brick and mortar driven to be more digital in nature, driving much more accessibility to higher education, learning and innovation. unless we address these aspects of improving infrastructure in the homes, both in township and rural areas, we're always going to create this form of segregation, so to speak. So that task force is looking at it comprehensively, the issue of township entrepreneurship. As I go to close my address to you, we know that the Department of Small Business Development has embarked on a program to look at the startup policy, defining the startup. They will surely be engaging on policy dialogue. My invitation to you is to participate in the policy process once it kicks off. If you miss the opportunity to participate in shaping the policy, you are going to live with the consequences of the policy that doesn't serve you. So this government is putting out clear processes to make sure that everyone is involved, you can give input. It doesn't mean that your input will get into policy, but it is will shape its framework at the very least, because it's a contestation, it's a battle of ideas, and they have to pull it together and say what works best for the country. But if you don't deposit your interests, then you're going to have to live with policy that has been crafted without you being involved. So my invitation to you, both as a student entrepreneur, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, watch the space for policy development, because the department is very, very keen to get public participation in policies like that. I want to encourage you to give us the input. We have made great progress in shaping the policy paper. Our job is to listen to global ecosystems in G20 countries, look crisscross the country, both digitally and physically, to listen to ideas about how to shape, what proposals should we put before the global leaders to actually help make sure startups and SMEs succeed. Even when we're at this stage of progress, we are still open to ideas. So today is just one element where you've got a chance to actually shape these recommendations. We're on the last leg of our program. On the 14th and 15th of November, we shall be having the last summit for SU20, where we are going to be finalizing the final document, which we'll present to global leaders as they converge in November at the end of South Africa's G20 presidency. The professor has also raised the issue about what happens after this. We have realized that there is a need for continuity. As part of the work that we are doing is to institutionalize the SU20 engagement as an ecosystem facilitator for South Africa, working with universities, working with different ecosystems in the entrepreneurship space to make sure there's consistency. G20 goes to the US next year. We have to shape the agenda. So then an ongoing structure that will be more inclusive should be able to carry our own agenda from a South African and African point of view from country to country, and we continue to shape policy for startups. With those few words, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the engagements today. Thank you.
Let's give him another big round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Jahana, for a wonderful keynote address. You heard it, guys. You have an opportunity to contribute to policies that are going to be presented at the G20. Your contribution here in Thohoyandou can also influence the direction of the G20 that is going to the US next year under the Startup 20, because this is a global initiative with global reach. So you, by coming here, you will play a very big role, and feel free to participate in the engagement and be part of people who are shaping global policy from a local level. Thank you so much, Mr. Vuyan. Without any waste of time, I will be calling upon Mr. Mujali Famuoto from the Department of Small Development Business. He is the Chief Director of Enterprise Development. He's a very important stakeholder to startups and rural and township entrepreneurship. And colleagues, those who didn't have breakfast, you can just sneak out, grab a muffin and a tea while you are standing by the corridor because I don't think we'll have time for breakfast. We started late. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Mott.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and I won't be long. I think let me just start by recognizing Professor Francis, Professor Chilitsi, Professor Grace, and our very own chairperson of the Startup 20 Engagement Group, Mr. Vuyani Chahana, and my colleague, Elise Kukemur, who's actually leading us in this work from the departmental side. What we're going to be sharing basically here is basically the importance of startup and need for national policy around the startup. But also we want to also share with everyone in terms of the progress that we have made in the development of the rural and of the township and rural economic development and revitalization policy. We came here in Thohoyandou a year ago just to come and consult with yourselves around the issue of rural economy and township revitalization, and we want to share really the progress that we have made so far around that. But just to start around the issue of the startup policy, we very much aware that different countries across the world have developed and implemented targeted programs and interventions through policies and incentive packages that are aimed at creating optimal legislative environment and fostering development of startups. And we know that how important startups can be if really they are developed to a maximum level in terms of economic growth. Within the South African context, the development of more enabling ecosystem becomes very much paramount in our space as policy developers. More especially startup operating within the high-tech and energy sector has been identified as one of departmental five game changers within the department in terms of the priority areas that we are actually focusing on to address the country's plight of unemployment, but also to really create a space and environment around innovators. We are very much aware that we have a flight of innovators who are actually taking opportunities and advantages of the environment that is existing outside our shores. The Department, therefore, of Small Business is currently developing a startup policy to really deal with these matters and address some of the impediments that seeks to actually hinder the development around this space. This policy is envisaged to create enabling environment, regulatory environment, so to speak, and I must just hasten to say that in our space, we wanted to follow other countries and have a startup act. However, we thought that it would be paramount and very important for us to start up with the policy first so that we can create policy impediments, policy prescripts and policy directives that can be able to shape environment around the legislative environment that we want to build. This policy envisages to create enabling environment with ultimately stimulating and attracting new investments and retaining and growing existing investments in the growth in high growth startups with multiplier effect, stimulating economic growth, innovation, and digitization. The startup policy interventions will focus on specifically five areas, key strategic areas. We want to reduce regulatory impediments, and that this will, as I said, translate later on into legislative prescript that will actually really create a regulatory environment around the space. But we want to create a robust policy that will cultivate growth, especially within the spaces where we see potential that we can be able to develop growth. Developing funding solutions is very much important, specifically tailor-made for startup enterprises, and provide market access opportunities while also providing inclusive and sustainability of enterprises that are actually emerging out of the interventions that we are creating. We have developed the concept document. We have actually consulted vastly with all the stakeholders that we wanted to consult with, and we have actually received some of the inputs that we are actually have directed us to develop a policy. And we have taken this policy to quite a number of structures. It's now currently at a level where it is ready to go to cabinet for approval. But we're still going through the various clusters within the country. And various clusters, it's only one that is left, but many of the clusters that we have actually tabled the policy on have approved us to go to cabinet for approval of this policy. I think let me pause there a little bit around the policy of startup, and as I indicated, I also want to share the developments and progress that we have made around the township and rural economy revitalization. We have, in collaboration with the Limpopo Economic Development Department, hosted a policy dialogue here in Thohoyandou, if you remember. I think it was in 2024, where we actually engaged with yourselves and we actually developed some concepts that we have informed and shaped the policy around rural entrepreneurship and the township revitalization, economic revitalization. Based on these inputs received in the Limpopo policy dialogue, as well as also the dialogues that we hosted elsewhere in other areas, we have managed to develop this policy. And this policy is actually at a stage where we really have also taken us through certain levels where we can be able to get approval of it. And we should be able to, by the end of this financial year, in April, or end of March next year, should be having a policy around the township revitalization. It is very much important, colleagues, to actually have a policy of this nature, because we really begin to unlock those potential areas that are existing within our economies. Also looking at also what is actually potential in terms of our social structures within the communities, where we can build tailor-made enterprises that are actually stimulating growth within our township and rural areas. We hope to have the policy published for public comments in 2025, and this will still allow us time to be part of the public comments process and still incorporate learnings and strengthen policy-based inputs, and also to SU20 task force that is actually tasked with township and rural development. The aim is to have the final policy approved by cabinet, and the emphasis will then be shifted to ensure execution and readiness and actual implementation in the next financial year. We're actually going to be interacting with this in our deliberations today, and also getting some more inputs, as Mr. Jahana said, that will actually inform the policy paper around the township and rural development. And out of that, then we can be able to feed into the policy that we are developing. And the engagement group has also incorporated township and rural economy as one of the focus areas. And in the discussion and in this gathering, we're hoping also to strengthen this area of work further. Let me not really bore you further around this. I think, as I said, I wanted just to give you a feedback in terms of the road we have traversed, and also just to give you a feel in terms of the startup policy that we are developing around startup enterprises. Let me thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moto, for taking us through the journey traveled up to this engagement at the University of Venda. And thank you also for opening up for colleagues to share their input, and that will also enhance the the policy of startup in South Africa. Colleagues, we are going to have a short break because after the break we are going to have a panel discussion. So to allow panel members to prepare themselves and those who will be leading the discussion, we kindly requesting us to have a short 15 minutes break, and those who didn't have breakfast will be rushing and getting breakfast. DJ, you can give us a song as we prepare for the panel discussion. proceed with our engagement. We are at the University of Venda, a leading university in engaged scholarship. We are a university leading in engaged scholarship through our community engagement initiatives, various of them, some entrepreneurial in nature, some tech, some agriculture. So we are now going to the item. It's a panel discussion on township and rural entrepreneurship. How many rural entrepreneurs in the house? Please raise up your hands. If you know you are a rural entrepreneur or someone owning a startup, small business in the village, in the community, in a township, please raise up your hand. Very few, right? I see Akamela there. How is the sauce doing? Thank you. I'm going to introduce the person who's going to lead the panel discussion, Mrs. Chinakao Chiramure. Let's give her a round of applause. Chinakao is a very good dancer. DJ, give Chinakao a song as she's going to lead us into this important panel. DJ, before I give her the mic, she must do what she's famous for. Yo, yo. Yo.
Shandy mama, I hate,
Search, come and assist your sister. Yo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just wanted us to just set the tone a bit, get flexible, because we're about to have a conversation. And by the way, I charge for dancing. If you want me to come dance, I will come at a fee. Okay, thank you so much. So I wanted to also drive the conversation to this perspective, that as startups, there's something I noticed when I was entering. We were all rushing to come inside, but they were selling themselves outside. The small conversations that they were having outside to say, yes, I started mine, but I'm facing this challenge. Hey, I can't even plow my maize. And these are the enormous challenges that they are facing. Now, I want to ask our startups today that with the panel that we have, may those small conversations and those criticisms about the policies and whatnot that I was hearing outside, let's bring them in-house today to this panel. This is where change is made. This is where your voices are heard. And as the university, the SU20, they've come together to say, we want to hear your voices. And as the program director said, today is the day that you speak, that we hear what challenges you're facing, and also how you think that change can be brought about. I will leave this concept that as entrepreneurs, you're not only making economical value for yourselves, but you're bringing about change. You're solving societal problems in your communities. You identified that gap. So you're not only making money, you're also making a change. So I'll introduce these panelists, and as they come, please make them feel comfortable. Perceive them as people you're going to have a meaningful conversation with. So the first panelist that we have is Mr. Makwindi Sima, who's a Secretary General of the Township Economic Commission of South Africa. Let's give him a round of applause as he ascends. Thank you. Siema, yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then we also have Dr. Albert Jeleni. I hope I did justice to the surname. Who's the president of the Limpopo Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We also have our third panelist, who is Mr. Nyiko Maluleke, who's a representative of the South African Township and Village Tourism Association. A round of applause, please. We also have Ms. Rotondwa Musita, founder and CEO of Trash Converters. Let's give her a round of applause. We also have Mr. Augustine Nemasisi, Pan General Holdings Pty Ltd. Round of applause. We also have Mr. Emmanuel Mudau from Matuba. I don't know if it's Matuba or Matuba. Matuba, yes. Matuba Genetics and Experimental Farm. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, change makers. Good morning, change makers. Yes. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves briefly and the amazing work that you do. I'll start with you, sir. Thank you. Unfortunately, because ndingwana wa muvenda ndingasiri mwari wata kuwe. Ufi azvitendi mara. Whatsoever you prefer will be fine with us.
Thank you, Program Director. All protocol observed. My name is Makwidi Siema from TEXA, which is Township Economy Commission of SA. I'm also the CEO of Limpopo Thinking Tank LTTC, which is an implementing agency of TEXA. And on the sideline, I'm an insurance broker for 25 years. I'm also having a non-profit company, Giving is Good, which I believe at the end of the session, I will have 3 or 4 sponsors for community building. Thank you very much.
There's something that I'm recognizing before you, kind sir, that even from his introduction, he's still saying that I am your voice wherever I am. He's also an entrepreneur just like you. Forward to you, sir. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Augustine Pen Nemasisi, also known as Pen. I am the founder of AVM Angela Farming, which is in agriculture. I deal with cabbages, green peppers, mustard, spinach, and chilies. And then also I am a founder of Pen General Holdings, where recently we just introduced our chopped spinach and chopped mustard and crushed chilies, which I planted at the farm. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Standing before you is Rotondwa Musita. I am the CEO of Trash Converters. Trash Converters is a waste management company that does waste management of recycling as well as skip bin hiring services. We work closely with waste reclaimers. You might be asking what waste reclaimers are. These are those guys that push trolleys, the guys that ask you to separate your waste at source. So we work hand in hand with them. Our business is located in the heart of Makado in a small village called Mwananjeri. And the other business I own is called Zwathe Enterprises, and we deal in general trading. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm Emmanuel Matuba Mudau from Matuba Genetics. I'm the founder and director of Matuba Genetics. I'm a farmer and also a breeder. We do sheep, goats, cattle, and then we also do the indigenous vendor chickens. And then we also have an academy where we empower farmers who wants to start or to grow in farming with good knowledge and based on experience. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Million apologies. I'll request to be seated. And my name is Nico Maluleke, and I'm tourism ambassador of note. Hold a salt qualification in tourism management, conferred from University of Johannesburg. I have a great vast experience of between 11 to 12 years experience within the tourism industry, attained from both private and public sector. A certified travel agent by Association of South African Travel Agent, running a travel agency business and specializes with government, corporate bookings, and etc. I'm also a professional tourism business consultant and specialist. I'm serving in different executive committees within the tourism industry, currently being the Secretary General for the following: Limpopo Youth in Tourism, Bembe Regional Tourism Association, South African Association of Conference Industry, Limpopo Chapter, Coordinator of Association of South African Travel Agent, Secretary of College Shabani Local Tourism Association, and Provincial Coordinator for Limpopo Satovito, which is South African Township, Village and Tourism Association, and newly elected Deputy Secretary for Limpopo Provincial Tourism Association. I've worked very closely with cooperatives, SMMEs, and youth for the purpose of development, of business development and strategies. Thank you.
Good morning. I don't want to violate his request, so I won't stand up as well, just to honor him. Colleagues, my name is Albert Jeleni, apparently a doctor from Univen. So they said. I am a business person, a specialist in the water sector in particular, but what I do is what we call environment, sustainability, and governance. So really that's my specialization. But I also do a lot of work in enterprise development, and I call that passion. So it's two companies that I'm running there. One is an engineering consultancy, and the other one is a business advisory services consultancy. I am the president of the National Union of Municipal Chambers of Commerce and Industry. The whole idea there is to make sure that every local municipality has got a local chamber. Hence we're saying a union, we're bringing them together. But I'm also the president of the Limpopo Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have got provincial chambers in the whole country. We are also members of SASI, South African Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Like I said, I am a doctor from Univen. I have spent the last 5 years trying to understand rural economic development. So my thesis really was to develop a governance framework that can be used to make sure that we understand rural economy. So I think I'm more relevant in this platform, and thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's one thing that I noticed, and it's in alignment with our themes, that all our panel members, all their businesses, all the work that they do, they are within the townships. I didn't hear them talking about Santon, waterfalls. I did not hear that. But all I could hear from them, I also heard the word passion from you, kind sir. And it was just so amazing that the beautiful startups, including yourselves, they were all just trying to solve the problem within their communities, in a sense. So today, we're going to be talking about the township and rural entrepreneurship. But this is going to be a conversation between you and the startups that also aspire to be where you have become. So this is more like a platform or a bridge where in these two beautiful worlds meet for a seamless transition for them and for a seamless ecosystem where these SMMEs also gradually move from the townships and also cluster within the urban and internationally as well. So flowing from this conversation, we'll talk about issues surrounding policies, issues surrounding the challenges that they are facing as startup entrepreneurs. And as we flow from these conversations, I know that already you have some concepts in mind, but as the panels will be discussing these fruitful concepts, we will do it in this way. So they will speak, you note the questions, and then we engage in a conversation. So from the first speaker, you note the questions that arise from the concept in which they're talking about. Then we discuss and engage in a conversation. But for the interest of time, we'll just limit it to about 4 or 5 questions. But let it be a platform where it opens up for when we go for lunch and we do networking. So all those other questions that we won't be able to cover here, that you have, let this be a platform that you know that you're still welcome to communicate with them in the networking session around lunch. So, my dear panelists, what do you have for us today that I would like to hear? Proceed. Thank you.
I'm the one always starting. And I was taught when we grow that ladies first. So the lady should start. Thank you very much once more, Program Director. Like I mentioned in my introduction that I'm from TEXA. Someone will ask, what is TEXA? TEXA is Township Economy Commission of SA. Someone will ask, when did this animal start? The founder and the president of TEXA, Ama Events Twala, started township economy far along in 1990, where we were in the apartheid era. And he made sure that he pushes township economy. And we say in TEXA, we are township economy. There is no township economy without us. I'm saying this because it is imperative, Program Director, for the audience to know who and what is TEXA. The founder and the president of TEXA was also awarded in 1993. The community builder of the year. He was working together with the late Agri Cluster. He was one of the first people, or the only people, if I may use that, to host the then UN Secretary Kofi Annan. Take him to Soweto. I'm not going to say much about it, but it's important for us to understand who is TEXA. And TEXA has got 9 chapters in the 9 provinces. And the good thing that I can tell, the National Dialogue of South Africa has given TEXA a responsibility to take charge and pioneer township economy in the National Dialogue. The national office was elected Eastern Cape, I think 2 months ago. But this is what I'm going to share with you. That let's agree that we are talking Startup U20 because of G20. I'm not going to say much about G20, but I will want everyone to be reminded of the objectives of G20. It's inclusivity, it's sustainability, and solidarity. TEXA's objectives and mandate is to promote township economy, to protect township economy, to empower township economy, and to grow township economy. And I believe one of, if not the objectives of this startup at Univen, should be the following: to end up having an inclusive growth creation of the township, rural, and village economy. One can ask why. It's because Limpopo in particular is the basket of Africa. It is very much painful when you go to USAFE to buy a banana that comes from here. The very same banana you are purchasing has already went to City Deep, collected by a truck, and come to your own village and buy it with a very shortened lifespan. Hence, we are saying, let's ensure that we restore the dignity and hope of SMEs, cooperatives, and any township business. And I know most of the cases, people, when we talk of township economy, we are referring to spaza shops. The spaza shops, we must agree in this house that we have given them away, but we must take them back. Somebody will ask how. That will be a topic for another day. Because of time, the program director has spoken. We need to ensure that we have an aligned or have alignment with the national strategies. I'm happy the department is here of small business development, and I'm proud and to honor their presence, because we always interject with them through both the minister and the deputy minister. We need to foster entrepreneurship at the highest level. We need transformation. You cannot sell cigarettes for 25 years and not have a tobacco farm. Something is not right. We need to make sure that township, rural, and village economy is developed. If you heard me saying at the beginning, I said, we want to promote, to protect, and to transform. Hence, development comes into the picture. In terms of financing of economies, we need, Mr. Moto, we need to ensure, I'm happy I saw Bramike here, there should be eradication of red tapes. We are the economy, but it is not as easy as accepting or signing a membership of a political party to receive finance, because there are red tapes. This needs to be eradicated. We need to encourage our government, the department leader and leadette in particular in this province, to put in place a user-friendly system, because not everyone and not every business person is academically sharp. And we can see with the ladies in Chakuma, they are making money. Men and women are in university today. Their parents have been street vendors. And I'm not saying people should not go to school, Dr. President. I'm saying it must not be a rocket science requirement for funding to be accessed. Let there be a user-friendly, accessible system to cover each and everyone. We need to put collaboration with radical and pioneers of the township economy. TEXA is available because the government does not know you. We know you. We spend time with you. We know the dynamics of the community. Let them partner with us for us to show them the ins and outs and the cons and the pros of the township economy. A user-friendly system and processes of compliance should be put in place. I'm lucky, program director, when the Spaza Fund was launched in AA2, I was there. I'm not too sure how many people have accessed the fund. The major, most frustrating element is compliance, compliance, compliance. We are still saying as TEXA, we are available to get the database because these are the people that we live with. We know the ins and outs. In all the chapters of TEXA and any other township, village, companies or organizations like LCCI, use us to help our own. In terms of policy economics, policymakers should be the players and partakers of economies. Mr. Mott, we need to be part and parcel as much as we can because we are the economy. If you heard me, I said we are township economy and there is no township economy without us. We need to be part. Township entrepreneurs and SMEs should be part of the legislative process because decisions are made in boardrooms without us, without you, which they will impact on you. And there is this saying in South Africa that nothing about us without us. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is important for education and skills development be imparted to the township, rural, and village entrepreneurs. You know, I'll give you a short story. I was a lecturer in a college. I resigned. Those who know Polokwane, I went to that railway line or railway station and sell tomatoes. And somebody asked me a question, why you leave such a profound position and go to the street? I said it's because I believe in myself. Today, I'm proudly saying I'm counted amongst successful black insurance brokers. Should I have stayed in that class and say good morning every day, I would be a slave and a slave forever. I thought we'll clap hands. It is also important that township, rural, and village entrepreneurs, they need to be empowered and not just be empowered by someone else. I'm happy we have a local skills development service provider. It will never be fair to go to Cape Town and procure someone here to come and do skills development in Venda. That is undermining the people and the citizen of the particular area. The other important one is to ensure that there be a collaboration and partnership with community-based service providers, which I just mentioned, encourage a robust approach to have mining houses fund local skill development centers without fail. I hope you have a mine somewhere around here. What I know, Greater Guyana and a portion of Vembe, these are too rich in gold. The question is, are you benefiting from the gold? If you are not answering, it means you're not. So it is time that the department, especially with LIDET, because they are into economy, these mines must empower us. I'm not going to go much into it because it will be politics, and people will say, no, Siyama was here, he said we must go and close the mines. But in all fairness, the gold is on your land, and you cannot remain poor. Those who know Sekhukhune has got about 38 mines, but Sekhukhune is the poorest. How contrary. Infrastructure and innovation. Let's put in place a strategic yet implementable system to access available industrial parks in the province. Do you have industrial parks here in Vembe? Are they used or are they white elephants? Do you know there are industrial parks? Brother Mike, people don't know that they have industrial parks here. When I grew in Seshego, there were all sorts and kinds of companies. Tempest, you name them. We still have them today, but some of them, if not most of them, are not used. So we need to make sure, more especially with you guys, you're having an airport. What you grow should be packed, radiated, and be cargoed to various countries. But that is done by white farmers. Am I right? Can't you do that? I believe, Dr. President, there is a lot to do in Venda. They have, I don't want to say it's an functional airport, but there are stories with the airport. That airport needs to be upgraded to a cargo airport. What for? For your own produce. Unless you have given away your farms, all of them. Then in terms of infrastructure and innovation, let's put in place. If you check, I'm talking about implementable. There should be an implementation of what we normally call it in Texas, which I believe you can start, is let's consume what we produce. And if we can go to that state, which means whatever we do in this community, it will be benefiting ourselves directly. Last but not least, somebody can tell about community models where there are stockfields and cooperatives in our country. Now I'm a product of a stockfield where women in particular, they put money together. Unfortunately, come December, we go and buy what is not supposed to be. You buy food that will last you up till March. But if you can take that money, I remember a year we met one lady who wanted to invest from a stockfield. They wanted to invest into the Zibidiela project. They said we've got 50 million. Let's not take our monies and buy food. I know food is important. But if you buy 6, high March, they're expiring. So let's take the money as stockfields, as formalized as it's gonna be, take them where it's supposed to be done.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Siema.
Thank you very much.
You are leading like thought-provoking questions, because in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, these are important conversations. And I just wanted to also welcome our SMMEs, because as you mentioned the issue about taking back the spaza shops, if you could see their faces, they were all like, yes, sis, we also want to take them back. You spoke about the issue of policy, regulations. You touched on a lot of thought-provoking and interesting ways in which we can address and take our rural and township economy to its greatest heights. I just wanted that now, may you welcome some of the few questions, because I can see they are burning. I got just one in a note to say, before this amazing conversation flows even further, can we just ask him one question in some of the important concepts you touched? And if you allow me, may I please engage those questions? May I? Yes, thank you so much. We have it was Mr. President, the president of the university.
Good morning. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mukwena Vusi. By the way, I'm the former president of the University of Venda, the newly elected member of SAUS, South African Union of Students, which there I'm responsible for entrepreneurship. Then this still means I'm still responsible for the students. So my question, it don't necessarily derive, but then it focuses on the issue of spaza shops that you have tempered. So I need to know that how best can we use entrepreneurship to clear the debts of our students? Because if we were to check right now, worldwide we have got the issue of outstanding debts. And government have exhausted its own strategies, implementing and so forth and everything. So now posing this question to students, I need to know on this SU20, for us to create the inclusion and sustainability, the first key issue that we must address is the student debts. Students who are graduating owing the institution, they are failing to get their certificates because they owe institutions. Now, the question that I'm posing is that how best can we use entrepreneurship to clear the debts of the students? And yeah, that's my submission. Thank you.
From the floor, I'd also like to get another question for Mr. Siema, flowing from the House. If there's another burning question, may we also engage him. The SMMEs, may we please engage Mr. Siema before the panelists can also respond. But I also have one, Mr. Siema. I'm very interested, especially when it comes to policy and regulations. How then, you spoke about the red tape. This tape that is bandaging us. We can't even move. We can't even access the market. Hey, you spoke about compliance. We don't even know where to start on how to comply as SMMEs. What must be done with this red tape, Mr. Siema? In brief, what must happen with this red tape? Yes, do we still have any other questions from the floor? If any, they will flow from that. I've noted 2. Do you want to take all of them? Okay. Okay, thanks so much. And that order, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Makadzin Chavini. I'm a career practitioner for Kadzi Consulting, which is a career development company, and also a instructor for Kadzi Swimmers, which is a swimming school. I want to ask Texa, as in, do you have any footprint around Wembe district? In the sense that, do you have any entrepreneurs or small businesses that you've ever assisted? And so, if so, how does one actually contact you? Do you have branches around, or we have to go through the head offices or any place that you are based in? Thanks.
Thanks. I'm from Tulamela, I'm the LED manager. I am very interested to what you touch and leave the issue of foreign nationals that are overtaking us. And I think all of you, if you are seated there and you are talking about revitalization of this rural economy, you should ask yourself and to say who are there currently. Because if you are from the village like myself, all those businesses are run by foreign nationals, the ones that you are talking about, and their policies that are there. And we don't have home affairs here, which sometimes is a challenging issue from us as local municipalities. And you talk about the funding issue of these PAZAs. And I don't know whether there will be any solution from all of you there, which is going to assist in terms of whether the funding is going to the rightful operators of those businesses. Because it's one of the critical issues that, seated here, I thought you would be coming with something that will assist. To say, how then do we make sure that the fund goes to the rightful people who are operating? Currently, 99% of those businesses there are run by foreign nationals. Very few percentage are our South Africans. What do we influence to make sure that we get back? Because that is the pride of African people, the spazas. They were not meant for this other foreign nation. You go to the Act, the Immigration Act. It is going to spell out exactly who should own that. So now, what is it that we are preparing to assist the policymakers if there might be a review? But maybe you can share with us, with your experience, because we don't want you to blame us as authority to say we are failing to make sure that the rightful people operate. Thank you.
And then we'll take the one last one from the amazing lady there.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Prudence. I am from a college, which is Vua College in Shayandima. We specialize in skills development. I'm also a small business owner. I'm selling eggs. I was thinking or hearing what the former gentleman who was talking now was talking about foreign nationals being hired. And we are here because of township development. And South Africa is complaining or crying about the fact that we don't have jobs. And what he said about the foreign nationals, and everybody who's sitting there at the panel has lots of businesses. And number one, we're still complaining and crying about unemployment. Unemployment rate is skyrocketing, number one. And we all here are in, how can I put it? We are all trying to eradicate poverty. We are selling small things or building from scratch because we are fighting for our own land. How do we, as the people at the bottom, I'm not talking as an employee, I'm talking as a small business owner who is trying to be in your level, who is trying to eradicate the poverty that I was talking about. I'm sure everybody doesn't want to be, how can I put it? No one wants to be in poverty. And the reason why we're waking up in the morning is to eradicate that poverty. How can you, as the panel, how can I say it? Nga Tshivenda ninga tutuwedza hani nwana mtuku ane ukunyaga thoma business ni do batalutshedza basa kunu pfa tshikhu ndo nyawo ndi zwiambe zwine basa kunu pfa Tshivenda nyawo ndi zwiambe lune vhathu vha ḓo pfesa ngori zwi vha zwi khou bva nga ngomu mbiluni ya ṅwana ane zwithu hawe zwi khou konḓa mbiluni ya ṅwana ane na musi ndi tshi vhona dzi business dzi tshi khou farwa nga vhathu vha nnḓa mbilu ya vhavha ngori rine ro aluswa nga zwitokofela zwa vhakegulu. I grew up in a small town called Heidelberg in Ratanda. My grandmother used to have stokvels. She used to sell alcohol way back then. And bana chipaza. So hecho chipaza cho re alusa. But rine zwino ri khou balela u vha na zwiphaza. And ri tshi vho ri khou nyaga u vha na zwiphaza hu mbo ḓi bva dzi police. Uri police ifhio na ifhio. Foreign nationals dzi a kona u vha na zwiphaza, but rine ri khou balelwa ngani uri riye kha vhathu vha no kona uri ṱuṱuwedza kana uri konisa sa NYDA ngori vhathu vhanzhi vha pfa vha tshi ri ni kha NYDA vha ḓo ni thusa. Ni kona hani u wana policy ya uri ni kone u imisa tshiphaza, ni wane bakery ya Sasco i khou ḓa ya ni ḓisela vhurotho tshiphazani tshaṋu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will open this up to also the rest of the panelists because some of the panel members that are here are business owners that have moved from the red tape that we all have. So I want to open it up in this sense that emanating from that crucial question and bringing the room home to the transformation, the aim and the objectives, transforming this local and township economy. Taking it from the grandmother she was talking about with all those stockfells, which was entrepreneurship for survival. How do we synergize the two worlds to transform our township economies? Flowing from the questions that we've all heard, in no particular order, I would wish for the panels to also speak about some of the journeys you've went through as entrepreneurs, as SMMEs, who are still facing challenges even till this day, on how can we transform this ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and for the questions. The first question comes from Mr. Mokoena. You are the one that I captured his name. You spoke about the spaza shops. We should not shy away from the fact that the spaza shops initially were referred to as informal businesses from the garages. This was because blacks were not allowed in most white-owned areas. This started when alcohol was stolen or was bought by one favored black person who can access it and be able to allow his own brothers and sisters to access. And if we can look into the concept, Dr. President, you remember we were talking about spazas. What is a spaza shop? Spaza, those who know spaza dummy, it's something that doesn't look formal. If you want a child to sleep and is using a bottle and you don't have milk, what do? You take a generic of it and use it, then the child will sleep. So that's how spaza started. Then what happened? Foreigners or big businesses, big boys, realized of the economy that these spaza shops are generating or are making. Then that is when, unfortunately, because of our impoverished conditions in villages, townships, and rural areas, in the long run, we gave away the spaza shops. And that was because, which we must stop doing, we locals normally do not support each other. And if we cannot accept and acknowledge that we do not support each other, we will fail ourselves. Let's acknowledge that when he opens his spaza shop, instead of us as a community supporting him, I will go and start a spaza shop next to him and compete with him. What we must learn and agree and acknowledge, the very same foreigners we are talking about, they have learned from the best. They have learned how much we do not love each other, how much we do not support each other. So taking back the spaza shops, the honors rest with us. Mr. Mugwen, the spaza shops belongs to us. When I grow, I think Mr. Moto can be part of, we used to have what we say consumer boycott. When we said we do not buy in town, we don't buy in town because we are the economy. We are the one that are having the bargaining muscle. If somebody wants to create a business, will come to a village, take the stats of the people, how many households you have, what is your lifestyle, and bring a business that is tailor-made to suit your need and capture us. I'm not saying there should be no malls, there should be no, but what I'm saying is that's how things started. I won't go too much on it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the student deaths. This is bigger than me. However, I won't leave it as it is. There are companies, big boys, if I may use that, who are making about 300 to 600 million per annum as their turnover. There is a mandatory policy that pushes them or forces them. It's just unfortunate. It goes back to that and that we do not share information. They've got an obligation, and one of the obligation is the enterprise development. And it is the other one, it is when they are doing their CSI. If our non-profit company says we have a drive of removing or of assisting students with their debts, his company has to assist. And I think that will need a collaborative and intensified discussion, preferably before we leave. There are people who will come forth and say, how can we help best? Because people have got money, where by virtue of their wealth, they have to take a portion and assist.
Yeah. Mr. Siema, I also wanted to bring Ms. Rotonda's voice into this conversation, as well as Mr. Maluleke's one.
I'm gonna leave this
Floyd.
person.
No, we are still within that. I wanted them to also speak as startup SMMEs, as SMMEs that have already developed and progressed through some of the challenges that they're facing, as to how were you able to circumvent that, and just share briefly about some of your stories to allow the conversation to flow. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think, so I believe the challenges that we face in business are all similar. It's just that they differ in size. But as a startup, all the way as you grow up in business, there are issues that we come across. I think the biggest one is inclusivity that we come across, access to information, access to markets, access to funding, and employability. I think we have a crisis with foreigners, as we are saying, but I think also standing from a point where you are an employer, you come across a lot of behaviors and attitudes towards work. I think we also need to get to a point where, as a country, we also accept that mindset-wise and attitude-wise, as people looking for employment in most instances, especially the youth, our attitude towards work is not what it should be. Our level of seriousness towards what we need to do needs or has room for improvement. So we are the ones who are leaving a gap in that space for foreigners to come and take in, nudge, knock, and take up opportunities that we should be taking up. So it's not enough to say we will sit and we will boycott and complain. Post that, what is the plan? You need to be saying, I'm boycotting because tomorrow I'm gonna go there and work and do what I'm supposed to do. But we find ourselves lazing around. We find a certain group of people in a certain color of overalls sitting on the side of the road. They have lunch at 10, 11, 12, 3. And then tomorrow it's the same group of people that want to be employed. It's very tough when you're on the other end, but as the youth, we are the ones who are leaving that window and door open for that. And then we have a case where we have issues such as inclusivity. Sitting here, I'm the only female. That should raise eyebrows for the females who are sitting in this room to say there is a lot of work for us to do. There is a level of inclusivity that must exist. Yes, on paper it says it wants us to be female, youth under 35. But in reality, that playing field has not been leveled for us to operate in that space. And so we find ourselves only operating in a certain sector because the other sectors are a bit difficult, as they call it, or they don't believe that our voices should be there. And sometimes people say, how do you make sure that your voice is heard? And it's not about being the loudest in a room, it's about the information you have. I always say Google is your friend. Go out there, look for information. That way you are able to find yourselves playing in a field which is deemed not for females. We find ourselves scraping. I'm in a field which is dominated by white old men. And in most cases, I find myself in that room as a young black female. And they look at you and say, what are you doing here? And I have to stand firm and tell them that I'm here to do business. And I don't toy around about that. I'm serious about the business I'm in. But then we come to a point where we really need to highlight the lack of information in rural and township areas. As SMMEs, we are limited when it comes to information because the same type of people or the same group of people have access to that information. And we always say, mutu ndi mutu ngabatu, but also, mune muti autusi matutu. But you find in a case where there is access to information, I will take that information and keep it to myself, whether I'm gonna use it or not. And that is another place where we need to start identifying the problems that exist in our communities to say, we are not sharing information. Yes, I might be a step ahead, but that doesn't mean I know it all. But in that step ahead, I'm able to find myself in a position or in a room where I'm able to access information that can either help myself or help the business next to me. So we have an issue of access to information, and that is also as a result of networks. There are no hubs where people can go and look for information. Yes, we have what we call business forums, but how conducive are those business forums for the black business? You find that there's a business forum, but in terms of policies, in terms of ensuring that they stick to the constitution that governs them, they're not doing that, and information remains in the same group of people. So we need to look at what is it that we can do to help township, rural businesses access information. Information does not end with us going to NYDA, us going to LEADER and lead it. There are opportunities that are all over the world, and they are seeking to partner with local businesses or rural businesses. But the problem is that there is no link between that opportunity and the SMMEs. And there needs to be a strategy in terms of how we're gonna close that gap so that the young girl in the rural area says, oh, I want to start a business in wastewater treatment planting. We are known to be consumers, yes, but I believe that there's so much that we can contribute to society, but the issue is that we don't have information. Then there's a case where you have the information, but you don't have the funding to bridge that gap from moving from having the information to having the funding. There's a lot of red tapes, and I think an issue that a lot of us in rural areas come across is that when you're seeking for funding, you come across a state where you want, even if it's debt equity, you find that they're telling you about security. Tribunal land does not hold value in the sense of a monetary value where it can have security. So that is the biggest issue we are currently facing as SMMEs. You could have infrastructure with millions, assets with millions to back the funding, but that doesn't hold water. And I think that's where government needs to come in to say, what is it that they can do to then commercialize those lands so that we close the gap in terms of accessing finance. So it's a big thing, and you find that we do have, there are people with information, but we need the funds to bridge the gap. And that bridge can only be covered or passed if government intervenes and looks at it from a point of people who are making policy need to understand the business landscape. It's not enough that you draft the policy and you throw it down, but you don't understand the businesses the landscape of business, because now you want one to be true, but one cannot be true because one was not curtailed properly or curated well in such a manner that you understand that for me to jump to two, I need to pass certain steps and gaps. So those are the issues that we are facing as SMMEs, to say we want funding, we need funding, but maybe our disadvantage, if we can call it that for now, is that we are operating on tribunal land. But then now, how do we commercialize that land so that it has a title deed of some sort, so that we are able to use that land to access more funding? And then in that, there is a case where I think government needs to look at a position of developmental funding, which is going to be used as grassroots for businesses. We start businesses and not all of them work out. But if it's through developmental funding, it allows you to fall forward, fail forward, and get up and try again. But in the event where it's commercial funding, it knocks you off your feet, because when the business is not doing as well as you had thought it out to be or projected it out to be, then it knocks you off your feet, and the energy to come back is difficult, because now you're still dealing with debt. But if developmental funding from government is used where it should be and given to businesses that have potential, not even businesses, but entrepreneurs that have potential, I think that we would be moving in a different way in terms of growing our SMMEs, because in all honesty, the red tape around SMMEs is not, it's not conducive. It's not enabling for us to proceed. You find yourself coming across a stumbling block. The government has money. Government tells us it has money. But the turnaround time for that very government to give us that funding, by the time they come back to you, all your documentation has expired. The opportunity you were gunning for has passed, because the very same government that is meant to intervene is not taking the businesses that we are bringing to them seriously. And then post having that funding, there's an issue of access to markets, which we come across a lot. Yes, there are opportunities that are ring-fenced for certain communities because they see a need to enable businesses in that area. But you find local businesses based in the Vembe district struggling to access opportunities at a University of Venda. You find local businesses struggling to perform because the red tape around you coming into the space says, as the business who needs to come into the space, you need to have 10 years of experience in X. Where is the development or growth for SMMEs supposed to come in that place? Isn't this where institutions need to look at a point of collaboration to say, because we want to grow our businesses that are local, that are startups, SMMEs, why not look at a method wherein the big boys, as we are calling them, partner with a local, smaller business, so that in that they are able to impart the knowledge, and then going forward, that very small business is empowered to continue the work in the event where a new job or opportunity arises.
Yeah.
So there are so many gaps that we come across as SMMEs, and we cry, we knock, we sit back, and sometimes the reality is that business is a passion. You need to have the heart for it. It's not easy at all. You might be seeing us sitting here, but our pains and struggles, for some, tomorrow is payday. So they know it's gonna be, very hot. But I think there's a lot of intervention that needs to happen from government and policy making point. And the issues that we are also coming across from that end is where there's one yardstick for all businesses, yet the sizes differ. You are putting a small business and a large business in one umbrella to say, in terms of policies, in terms of labor laws, in terms of tax regulation, this is the basket. Is that really fair? And then in that, how is it that we grow as SMMEs?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those were some, I could hear Ms. Rotondra's heart speaking to the lady over there that was talking about the challenges she's facing as an entrepreneur. And convergent to that, I wanted to bring something home to say, access to information, yes. And it's something that Prof, within the directorate, we're trying to fight, to bridge the gap. So within the institution, we have Rapid Incubation Office, which is called UCFERI, here at the University of Venda. So some of the SMMEs that are here, they're being incubated there. That is where we try and pull in access to information to bridge that gap. And it's so disheartening when we encounter the SMMEs and they come and they're like, I need to be compliant. They say 2 years, and I've only just have, it's 1 year. Okay, oh my God, what am I going to do? But they know how to do the work. They know how to deliver. They're delivering every single day. And it's that pain that I could hear you speaking through. And I think it's also upon the institutions. Prof, I guess we have to be the catalyst and the bridge, connecting these two words, serving as information. We need to take the information out to them, bringing the industries, bringing the big boys to the amazing SMMEs. I mean, when I look over social media, especially about the Chakuma women, I see a lot of celebrities and these big people, because they know that the ladies are selling organic fruits that their doctors said they must eat. They can't call their friend Tsepo, who they know they use GMOs, but he's a big boy. They're gonna run there because they know it's organic for them. So it's beautiful and it's amazing. And Mr. Maluleke, what do you have to say about that?
Thank you so much. I will just say, I always stand still with the principle, SMART principle, where as an entrepreneur, you need to be specific and measurable and achieve and then be reliable and also have that time bound. I will actually just stand with what you were saying to say that as a startup, obviously there's a lot of up and downs, challenges that one can be able to actually face. I'll just also, and to give some response to the questions that were actually posed on the floor to say, what do we do as government if we actually have experience of foreigners and all that? I'll just say that to scale township and rural entrepreneurship while keeping their identity, one should actually leverage on digital technology for transparency. And for government, let them formalize governance structures without stifling flexibility and forge partnerships. I will say this because I know for knowledge that some of the local municipalities have introduced to have hawkers association committees. It will be important that local municipalities introduce such committees, because remember, we took spaza shops as informal business operating people, but now that the government wants to shift that, it's important that through their LED forums, they should actually have an existing active hawkers committee that will be able to actually talk or be the voice of these entrepreneurs, to actually make them understand compliance issues. We might have checked on the statistics of how many spaza shops were actually operating legally. Now it's of a good call to say, now that there's a funding, there's compliance that needs to be followed. Talking of your CIPC certificate, the importance of having that certificate of food acceptability in premise is very important, because mostly you find that our people lack information, like she said, on how to operate. I mean, the pros and cons and all those things. So it's important that through those forums and outreach, they can be given awareness and education on what to comply. What is it that you need to actually operate if you're a restaurant owner or a spaza owner? And then also to foster a sense of collective responsibility and shared goals as exemplified by Ubuntu philosophy, which underpins community participation and trust. Focusing on value-added services beyond service, like your financial literacy. We need to teach our entrepreneurs the financial literacy. I'm very glad that some of the skills development brought forward the issue of financial literacy programs that actually last 3 months, 6 months, that actually get to make one understand what is the audited financial statement being part of the requirement when you apply for funding and all those things. It's very important because we cannot afford to have entrepreneurs that still take money without having your business account for your business. It needs to be accounted for. And then also compliance in terms of South African constitutions, your source, it's very important, your tax clearance. I cannot regard tax clearance as a red tape because it's something that's, it needs to be there if you're a business person. And also to add, to say, let the local municipalities have that executive board or committees to actually foster and strengthen that enforcement in terms of compliance. And also, I think it will be also important to include the spatial planning and land use management unit guys, to feature them, not all in your LED forums, but sometimes, because it's important to understand the land use do's and don'ts, because some fails to have that zoning certificate, some fails to have those EIAs, the environmental impact assessment, but yet you have finances or financial muscles. But those kind of EIAs, they need to be given information regarding that. And then in terms of fostering community-driven success through partnership, financial sector integration, it is important in a core department. I'm sure that there are representatives from the department here to foster sector integration, partner with financial institutions that understand the community context, to offer products like tailored burial insurance, for example, investment options, and other services that provide enhanced financial protection and growth potential. And then lastly, I will say, to cultivate a strong sense of community and shared purpose. The shared goals in terms that ensure that the Stockwell's goals extend beyond individual savings to collective wealth creation and broader community development initiatives. In that way, I believe that the startups can be able to have a light on what is happening. Thank you so much.
Yeah. From this panels, I'll take it to Bonema Sisi, just to briefly reflect on some of the things you've been noting, as well as your journey as an established, if I may say, one of the big boys, as referred to, just to shed some light on this. Yeah.
Okay, there's a saying that says, if you have eaten today, thank a farmer. So maybe the whole year should thank me.
Thank you.
So as I've indicated that I am a farmer based in Lois Richard in a place called Redflay. I think I have more than a decade in farming. I am an award-winning farmer awarded by the province, of which I also went to compete also on the national level. I came number 5. There's a lot of challenges that we come across in farming. I always say that farming is not for the faint-hearted. If I still remember correctly, in 2020, during the COVID, I had a contract with Purity to plant Pluto butternuts for them that they had to use for Purity. And if you remember very well, around that time, there was a rain that came and rained, I think, for a month, non-stop. And by then, I had planted 60,000 seeds of Pluto. Pluto is very much expensive. Each seed is 1 rand. In other words, I planted 60,000 on the field. And due to that rain, I lost everything. We even went on the national television, all the SABC News. We cried. Even the MEC called our department in Lois to say, I'm watching about these guys who lost these, what are you doing? They came, took the report, and nothing was done. That's how they do things. Then again, I think 2 years back, I planted 110,000 cabbages. The storm came again and destroyed everything. You've got workers, they don't care whether there's nothing at the farm, come month end, they need to get paid. I also had a contract with. I also had a contract with McCain Foods to grow spinach for them that they had to dry it out and they take it to UK as dried up. 3 weeks before the harvest, the rain came back again, everything was destroyed. So this industry is very tough, and what's more painful is that as much as we contribute in the economy, when you're experiencing such, nothing is done. They will just come, take the report, and that's it. It ends there. But if there's one thing that I've come to master and realize as a farmer, the Nigerian have got a saying that says, if the mountain cannot go to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. Which simply means that if one's will cannot prevail, don't just sit around and do nothing. You must seek an alternative. We cannot always blame the government. What is it that we are also doing? If the government cannot come to the party, what are we doing? So, as I said, currently now, I've just introduced my crushed chili that I planted, Chisawan. And when I began this chili, it was when I couldn't get the market. And then I said to myself, if I cannot get the market, why don't I create the market? Because we are living in a time whereby, as farmers, you grow cabbages. Cabbages is very much to maintain. Just a week, if you're only planting 10,000 cabbages, it requires more than 4,000 a week. And remember, you have to go for 3 months maintaining those cabbages. When you go to the shops, they want to buy your cabbages by 10 rand each. You've spent a lot on the fertilizers, on the pesticides. Still, I think last week I saw a cabbage going for around 6 rand. Crates for tomatoes last week were 60 rand. Some of the tomatoes in other people's fields, they're getting rotten because there is no market. And the worst part, even those who controls the market, in 2020 I went to one of the nurseries and then there were no seedlings of tomatoes around Limpopo. And I asked, how is it that possible that no nursery have got the tomatoes? Only to realize one of the top dogs in the industry have bought all the seedlings and they destroyed just to kill the market. Check at what's happening now in Mwanedi. Ever since another company went there, those guys are experiencing a lot of troubles because of the market. So you are here fighting for the markets. You've got the crops that are not moving. That's why I decided to say, let me go into agro-processing. Because if I've got a lot of spinach that is seated at the farm, it will just get destroyed and nothing will happen. And I've realized that a lot of people are lazy to chop the spinach. Why don't I introduce a branded chopped spinach to them? As we speak now, all the local shops, they are taking a bundle of spinach for 5 rand. They will just require 100 bundles. You are driving from Lois to a certain place, all that money that you're going to get is finished on petrol. So I said to myself, okay, fine, let me just go to agro-processing. Let me brand this thing, let me chop this thing, and see, as we speak now, I'm busy with the barcodes. We want to distribute it to the supermarkets because only then I can be able to say, this is what I must get because it's branded, it's chopped, easy work for you guys, you're just going to cook. So, and then also again, when I started, I approached one of the local supermarkets with a very big cabbage. When I look at what was in the store, it was nothing compared to what I have. And they said unto me, we don't need you. Straight to my face. I went back laughing and saying to myself, one of the good days, you will want me. There was a week that I was trending in all the newspapers of Limpopo and also on Google and also on the radio station. The same people that said, we don't want you, They read about me on television. They saw about me on television. And by then, I was the only person who had green paper in the whole of Venda. And there were no green papers at the store. They called me to say, we want green papers. There's no green papers around. Can you be here by 7 a.m.? I said, no, I'll be there by 10 a.m. They said to me, it's like, you don't understand that we are saying we don't have nothing at the shop. I said, hey, another guy just came in. I'll be there by 1 o'clock. Take it or leave it. They ended up saying, okay, it's fine. One it is. When I went there, ZZ2 was leaving the premises, delivering tomatoes. And I said to them, we must talk this now. We, the local farmers, when we come here, we must come back to the store and take the money for cash. But when these guys come here, they must bring the invoice. I'm having a lot of green papers. I think I had 3 bags full of green papers. How do you then suppose that I come back and collect all the cash and still go back safe? Why can't you treat me the same as ZZ2? Because all of us, we are the suppliers. If ZZ2 are going to send you the invoice, surely I am going to send you the invoice. If you don't want my green papers, then it's okay. If you are not going to send me, if you are not going to allow me to send this invoice, then you are not worth my green papers. And they allowed me to send the green papers. We must know the worth of our businesses. If we are to survive and strive in this business world, know the product that you have and produce quality. And I tell you that they will always come for you. And to check now what is going on with AgriSeta. People who are not even in farming, they're getting the tenders to bring the learners to the farm, to the farmers, to train them. Whereas it was supposed to be the farmers who were approached to say, you are the right people to get these tenders and get this application. So we are still behind. And one of the people who are failing us is the people who are leading us. We must say this not even ashamed. The people who are supposed to support us, they are not supporting us. When I started where I'm farming, we had close to 10 people who were doing farming, even white people. Some of them, they're gone. Because when we lose products, nothing it's happening. But it needs somebody to say, I'm going to strive even if the government is not supporting me.
Yeah.
Because I've got the vision, and hence, even today, I'm still standing. Last week, I loaded the baggie, 700 bundles of spinach and China, went to Pretoria, sold everything, and come back. If I cannot get the market, let me create the market. What is it? Sometimes I'm here by the circle. There's a baggie that is always selling in China there. Don't see this shoots. I can get dirty in the farm. I'm the one selling. As much as we are saying the government is not coming to the party, what is it as the entrepreneurs that we are doing? We need the funding, it's true. But let the funding find us somewhere. That's all I had to say.
Yeah. Hey, I can now see this transformation in different pictures and in different lenses. From continuously having to problem solve as an entrepreneur, continuously getting up and keeping going, continuously have to knock on doors you know they don't want to open for you, and pushing over. For you, are you also crying like him did Okumbi wa Matamatisi?
No, thank you so much. No, I always say farming is a business, and farming is the backbone of our economy. We don't talk any other business before farming, because the reason why we can sit here and talk business and everything is because we have eaten. If there is no lunch here, there will be a serious problem.
Yeah.
So farming is the backbone of our economy. If those farms today they can close, I think even the president will have an immediate family meeting.
Yeah.
Because the farms have closed. So yeah, passion drove me into business, I must say, because when I started this farming business, I started 18 years ago, but I had passion of goat farming. But after starting to have those goats growing bit by bit, I have realized that there's a lot of potential or things that I can do with this thing. I can survive, because then there is a huge demand. Because one of the things that I think we are failing is not to check on the opportunities of the demand, the gaps that a business can be able to close. So we started with those goats, and then we moved from breeding goats, and then we had sheep, and then after sheep, then it was chickens. But yeah, obviously the challenges will always be there. One of the main challenge with farming business in rural, it will be your land, and maybe you will get that land with the PTO, and then some of the funders won't be able to fund you because of PTO. They want this title deeds and stuff. But as a business a person, I didn't want to look more into negative things. My focus was to work towards my business and grow my business. But the other thing that I've learned through our farming business is that a lot of people who want to, or the startups, the people who came into business, they lack the financial literacy. And then the other thing is your marketing. And then those are the key things that when you have a business, more especially in the rural, you need to understand your products, what you are doing, and then to market them nicely so that you can be able to make money. To be innovative as a business person, it's something that always comes in. Because if you can check our business, we are Matuba Genetics, and then a lot of guys who are in the farming industry, goat industry, it's a lot of people who are doing goat and sheep farming. But we are always on top, and we always do things different because we are creative. We don't want to do copy and paste business. We don't do that. Our main focus is to breed animals that a lot of people cannot do it. And then which means we will always have a market to sell our goats. We breed for breeders. But obviously, even when you are breeding for breeders, and then you will always get those who want for slaughter and stuff. But slaughtering is not our main business. And then we also now have a record of selling one vendor chicken for 4,800. And if you can check going around the villages, there's a lot of vendor chickens. Our vendor chickens is our chickens in vendor here. They originate here. The researchers came here and then do all the research and then found it here and then they register it as a breed. It's our own chicken.
Yeah.
But no one is rich because of vendor chickens.
Yeah.
But if you go now and Google, you will see the vendor chickens are doing good in Western Cape. A lot of farmers there, they are getting good money. A lot of farmers are getting good money in KZN. But because of we are creative, and then we always look for opportunities within our own business. We were able to work on our vendor chickens to get more of the quality chicken that we get in South Africa. It's sitting with us now. We've got very good genetics with us.
Yeah.
And now when you come to me to say, I want a chicken, you already know the price that we have sold for 4,800, which means that was at the auction in Pretoria. It was not from the farm.
Yeah.
But now, if you come to me knowing that I'm selling one chicken for 4,800, you won't take a chance and come with less than 2,000.
Yeah.
Then that's business. I mean, you...
Yes.
You already, when you come, you propose with 2,000 upwards. Then even maybe if that chicken I was going to sell to you for 200 or for 500.
Yeah.
But because you know this is a brand, then you come with good money. So those are things that we as local business, we must definitely work on our things that we've got, looking for an opportunities, marketing our brands in a very good way.
Yeah.
Like say for instance, in this nowadays, when I started farming, there was no Facebook, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have any social media platform. We were relying only on the books that we buy on the shops, and then we read from there. But now there are so many opportunities of these social media platforms where you can post and sell your stuff there. But you will find people who owns businesses posting wrong things in social media.
Yeah.
They don't post their own businesses. Even if I'm a good dancer, I cannot dance and post on social media. It won't pay my bills. But I will always post my goats on a daily basis.
Yeah,
I will always, if you don't buy or you buy, but I will irritate you with my goats and sheep and chickens. Every day you see that. That's business. And then your marketing must always continue. Your marketing must always continue. Because sitting where you are, you don't know who is looking up to you. You don't know who are people who are following you. You only know yourself. But people out there, they are looking for you. You see Matuba Genetics is selling goats to Uganda. We're selling goats to Kenya. We deliver all over the country. And then we have our starter pack packages where we also come to this thing to say, no, people want goat, but now there is a lack of knowledge towards this. They don't understand the breeds and stuff. And then I said, no, I must develop a package of those who want to start business, goat business or sheep business or cattle farming. So I group 5 females and 1 male, and I sell them as a package for startup, for someone who wants to start a farming business. And then it comes with mentorship. And then on that package, we give you we also give you a package and a mentorship program for the rest of my life, because I'm still here. We've got a very big WhatsApp group. So people who buys from us, they benefit. You see? So, which means our business is guaranteed that it will always be there, because when you buy from us, you've got benefits that are always there. So those are things that we always encourage farmers, those farmers who are going into business, to say, you must not just say, I'm selling goat. What is special about your goat? Everyone can sell goat. But come up with new ideas. Be creative, be innovative. Come up with some other things that will motivate your business to go forward, to grow. So after that, we said no. We realized that even people that are coming from universities holding masters and PhDs in farming, they still struggle. We said no, which means even our tertiary levels, they've got a shortage of practicals, and we are in practice. Let's do the trainings. We went to AgriCitra, we registered a academy. Now we are offering 3 days, 5 days trainings. So which means if you are not buying goats, you will come for the training. Then the business is always going. The business is always going. But if the focus will be, I will sell tomatoes, I will sell this one, I will do a spaza shop, I will do this, then we won't have businesses. We will end up selling our businesses to other people, and then they will be successful. And then the other thing is consistent. Each and everything that you must do, you must have passionate towards it, and then you must be patient, because it cannot happen overnight. It cannot happen overnight. You look, we are now maybe 5 years down the line, we're very famous, everyone knows us. But we didn't start farming 5 years ago. We started 18 years. So which means there was a struggle and so many challenges that we were still going through to be where we are today. So the other thing is diversification. Matuba Genetics have diversified into logistics now. We have realized that no, maybe sometimes we will have some drought and stuff and all those things that can kill the animals and stuff. But we have responsibilities. We must, the life must go on. Then we took all the monies that we were investing there into a logistic. We bought trucks, we bought TLBs, and then we started another businesses that is supporting the farming business. If the farming is not going well, like tomorrow people can say now we've got FMD. It's a national breakdown, foot and mouth disease. And then all the animals are dying, everything is done. But my life and everyone who is working for us, we still must go on. Then the logistic must support the farming now. When the farming is doing well, the logistic is not doing well, the farming will support the logistics. So that's how we are doing it. But mostly in so many things, because I'm also the founder and chairman now of the Limpopo Indigenous Field Goat Club, and then I'm also in all these societies of farmers in the country. More especially in small stock sheep and goats. I have a very good relationship with white farmers. We're very good friends because we sit on the same management, and they're doing good, to be honest with you, in farming. But most of my best friends in farming, they don't have qualifications like what we have as black farmers. They never went to school like us, but they've got passion. But about our black young kids who are going to the universities, studying agricultural economy, studying agricultural science and production, but they still fail to raise goat and to sell. But that person has got an agricultural economy, which is the money. When we talk about the agricultural economy, we're talking about money. But someone who has all these studies, but they can't perform it. So it's a lot of things. They are sitting with us. We can blame your government. We can blame what, but everything starts with us. If we are passionate about it, we can do it. Thank you.
I guess also transformation starts with making conversations like this last longer. And we have more breaks in between these panels because these are thought-provoking conversations. And it's wonderful how they've all painted this picture for the SU20, the transformation. It was painted by this amazing diversified panelists, including the SMMEs that are here. Through their questions, they all synergized to paint this transformation. And all I could hear is that transformation looks like it deals with issues of your finance and investment, how to access the funding, what to do when you can't access the funding, which was intertwined in the different values and attributes that the panelists was talking about based on their experience. And I liked about the concluding remarks of Bomatuba, when he said, it starts with you. So transformation starts with us, like Ms. Rotondwa says, our mindset. Our mindset. So transformation is looking like this, Mr. President. It's looking like every day trying to solve problems. When Nembo Sisi spoke about bridging the gap, still being that informal entrepreneur, still riding that buggy that he has to go and sell spinach because Pick n Pay hasn't called. But it's still continuing. It's how the transformation has become like. But my question is, in terms of regulations, how flexible should they be? How can they accommodate the SMMEs? In terms of information, access to information, collaboration as they spoke about, the skills development training, and all of that. How do we synergize? How do we come together and realize the objective of the SU20? In 3 minutes, because we know the senior people are good at pitching, they always tell us when we pitch in front of them that we must speak for 3 minutes. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. I actually prepared a response because I knew the questions that you were going to ask. So I can submit it, but it answers everything that has been asked already. Like I said, I've been in this space researching for years, but I can also tell people are hungry, so they won't hear everything that I have to say. But need I say something? And I just want to break somehow. I did say to you that I'm a water specialist, probably one of 8 in South Africa, amongst black people. All right? I think if we combine other races, we're probably less than 30. I'm not talking hydrology. I'm talking about water specialist. understanding the total system of how it works. But with those words, I'm trying to say that I understand the challenges on the highest level of our economy. But at the same time, I'm one person who have run a spaza shop as well. I also understand the challenges that are there on the ground. So you spoke about the policy, which is what I want to quickly respond to. This is what we usually say, Chief Director. We are saying this is an ecosystem. That's what we say. But how many of us understand that it's an ecosystem? Because the moment we implement, we don't treat it like an ecosystem. Chief Director goes that side, does his own thing. And then the debt manager goes to the other side and does his own thing. And pretty much that is our biggest problem that we have in South Africa, is the fact that we understand it's an ecosystem, but we do not treat it like an ecosystem. Or perhaps let me explain what is an ecosystem. Most of you had an opportunity to go to Kruger, not so, during the open day. That is a perfect description of what an ecosystem is. It's a space where a lion lives next to a springbok. There's no fence, it's not protected, and it must sleep at some point. The buffalo must sleep at some point knowing that there is a tiger. They are closed in that space, and that is an ecosystem. That's how an economy is. And the economy manages to sustain itself in that space. So one problem that I picked up, which I think we need to deal with, is to try not to victimize by classification in terms of rural, small, or whatever. Because most of the time, that's how we tie their feet so that the lion can hunt them down. So if you were to go to the Kruger and start to spot these smaller animals and say, I know you are vulnerable, you know, we must just close you up in a fence somewhere, and the lion jumps in and eats them freely because you have closed them up. What is the most hunted animal in the reserve? Do we know? No, it's not. And who would have thought it's an impala? It's a buffalo and that one with the stripes. Zebra. Why does an impala survive? It's what this gentleman said. You'll go and check. You'll always find it amongst the big animals. An impala, that's how it survives. It doesn't isolate itself. But buffaloes, they tend to isolate themselves. So what I'm saying, the first thing that we need to be careful as policymakers, let us not tie SMMEs and put them in one corner so that they can easily be devoured. Because that's what we have been doing by policies, stigmatizing them. So that is the first thing that I want to put to say that when we say rural, it's not a bad thing. He had indicated that we need to preserve it. If I remember, you said that. So we do not want to kill it. We want to preserve it. So we just need to create a conducive environment for it to sustain. And what is a conducive environment? And I'm going to paint it very simple. It's not the creation of a policy, Chief Director, Mr. Moholo. I'm going to be talking to you. I don't want to talk to my colleagues from LIDET today. It's not a policy, but there is a department in South Africa that is doing very well. We can go and copy from. It's the Department of Transport. Now we're talking about, what did you say about spaza shops and foreigners? The bananas. So they are taking it over. Ne? Yes. That is a policing issue. It's a police issue. So the Department of Transport, when they realize that we are violating the rules on the road, what did they do? They put traffic cops everywhere. Not so. Cameras, sometimes even fake cameras. So we don't need to come and sit here and talk about foreigners and all those things. We just need to make sure that we have got economic development rangers in every corner. That's it. No, we can talk, we can develop policies, we can do all those things. But if we don't have the rangers on the ground, on a daily basis, who from the municipality, how many inspectors, health inspectors for food do you have? The last time, if I remember, I had 1 to 3, if not mistaken, for the whole district. So what do you expect me to do? I'll sell expired food because you can't catch me. You can develop a policy, but if you don't have those people on the ground who are making sure. Now, I have looked at what's happening in Joburg. The mayor wakes up every day, goes to some complex, and people run. Those people that you are saying they are taking over, when they see her, they run. And that's all that we need. So that is the second thing. We don't need to talk about this, theorize this, and all those things. What needs to happen, Lidet, the same thing that we do in a game reserve where we've got rangers to protect the rhinos. Let us have rangers to protect our sponsor shop owners in South Africa. That's it. Don't send me to go and fight them. They are dangerous. They are not here one by one. They are here as a group and they are funded. But don't tell us to fight them. We can't win. So we need that. So that is the second thing from the policy point of view. The third thing from the policy point of view is the recognition that there is already a solution in our constitution. There is already a solution in our NEDLEC. And that solution is called local economic development. It's a strategy. So that strategy covers all sectors. It covers all development regions, urban, rural, peri-urban, and all those things. It covers that. Now, I just finished my research. There is a new strategy that's supposed to run 2018 to 2028. We are now in 2025. It's left with 3 years. There, I ask which municipality has adopted that strategy. Which municipality is that? So it's Bembe district, not so. Do we know any other municipality that has adopted? I think if not mistaken, in Limpopo there might be 2. Voila. That's how we fail. Now we need to develop another policy. We need to implement that one. It's there. Now, in opening, I heard the speaker saying that we need to develop guides on how to implement. Now, when you speak about an information, it's a guide, not so. Something that tells you where to go. That's what you need. I mean, you have got a telephone directory. You know where to get who. But in terms of getting this information, we don't have a guide. So, and we'll submit in terms of the policy that the SU20 it's having. There are a lot of things that we have to say in that. But what we need to talk about now, it's developing guys to implement the policies that we have. Now, as I close, a bad policy can turn into a good policy if it's being implemented on a daily basis. Isn't that you implement it, you realize it doesn't work? Then you change, you implement it, doesn't work. But what we're doing in South Africa, we come up with a new policy, we put it there. It's not working. Nobody went around to check if they've implemented the LED strategy and punish them. I mean, these people have got a job description, so there is someone sitting here who has a job description to implement the LED strategy 2018, 2028. He's being paid every month. Then why do we need to develop another policy? Now, the last point. If you need to buy a taxi in South Africa to be in the rank, what are the requirements? Does anybody know? That is the Department of Transport. They've organized themselves. Why do we have a foreigner doing a business in South Africa without a license? You can't buy a taxi if you don't have an association letter. That's why the taxi industry can never be hijacked by foreigners. Now, I got invited here by Backdoor. I'm the president of the chamber. But I was invited by Backdoor. I wrote a letter in 2020 to your HOD. I introduced our chamber. I did speak to the minister then. We do a lot of work with the department. So one of the things that government has done intentionally is to alienate associations. I asked in 2020, do you have a list of associations? We don't have. But it's not only that. In your Business Registration Act, we don't say anything about associations, do we? We don't. So, we go to a place and open a chamber today and say, Mayor, this is a local chamber that we're going to work with. Tomorrow he launches his own. But from the Labor Relations Act, the unions are regulated, so you cannot just wake up and register a union. So I've given you two departments that you can learn from, the Department of Labor and the Department of Transport. I raise my case. I rest my case.
Need I not say more before we spoil the pot, but I wanted to also ask the program director if we may maybe have a 5 minutes body break so people can digest before we go to the reflections, because this was very thought-provoking, if we may.
busy assisting the startup with compliance, etc., registration. She's advising. So we do have those kind of service in the university. Maybe this is the information that some of the community members, they do not have. And then from time to time, we bring stakeholders together who are able to assist the community and also assist the university internally. And I was learning from my boss earlier when we were having tea. She was asking the numbers from everyone there at the briefing room. So that is a way of building the ecosystem. I know that tomorrow she will be dropping an email to say, follow up on so and so. So that is how we build the network, and that is how we can access the information. So those are my few words from what I've gathered from the panel discussion. And thank you so much for such a wonderful and intriguing discussion. And without any waste of time, we are going to an item, Reflections from Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Task Force members on their recommendation thus far. So that is before the recommendation from Mojeleni. That is before the recommendation from Rotondwa, the recommendation from Matuba, the recommendation from Bosieba. So that means that the updated version will have your recommendation and the recommendation from the participants at the investor event. Without any waste of time, over to you, Mr. Mutivi.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. The panel was very, very exciting, and there's a lot of information that we can take from. I don't know whether I'm the impala or I'm the zebra, because people are hungry now, you know. The president spoke about the most attacked animal. So I don't know if a program director attacked me like that, because I'm going to have very short time. The person who's standing in front of you, his name is Papi Mutibi, ke Motswana, ke tswa ke le ko Northwest, ko leng gae la Tau. Yeah, ko le gae la Tau. So I once attended a conference, and the speaker then spoke about the most sexiest language. The language that is very sexy. So he was going through the languages, then he came to the Venda language. And he says, no, you know why Venda language is so sexy? When you greet, you say Nda. Then, and I said, but if he says Nda, he says, no, no, no. The men respond by saying Nda back. But the ladies will say, ah. So I will leave it there. Thank you very much. I would like to recognize Prof. Francis in his absentia, and Tate Jahana in his absentia. Mechilizi, I'd like to recognize you, and Tate Moholo. And we all say protocol observed, because I don't want to be told that I do not pronounce people's names correctly. What is important? Tate Jahana leads the whole SU20. And we are part of a task force that focuses especially on rural and township entrepreneurs. Number one that I would like to mention, remember the G20 went to Brazil and they went to other countries before they come to South Africa. We are the first country to put on the task force rural and township entrepreneur. And I would like to say the township, this task force had it tough. What happens is that periodically we do have meetings with our counterparts. Remember, it's a G20. So there are other 19 countries. And I remember when we were sharing with them to say, no, we want stock fairs. They say, what is a stock fair? You know, when we tell them about spaza shops, someone from Dubai will say, what is a spaza shop? So it was such a difficult thing for us to get to this point. So what I'm going to share with you is the work that has been done up to so far. Like the program director said, that we are developing a policy position that we would like, when the G20 countries are here in November, it could be proposed to them to say, this is what we want all the other countries to adopt. So the point being that if Japan, China, US adopts a policy position on rural and township entrepreneurs, a person who's selling chili here in Venda can communicate directly with a person in Japan who wants chili. A person who is supplying wool in the Eastern Cape can communicate directly with someone in India to buy wool from them. So that's what we ultimately want. We want entrepreneurs to be networked without the red tape. And obviously we will need the support of the powers that be, the government, the other policymakers. And what tough is that every time we have a meeting as the task forces, all of them like Ntate Jagana mentioned, we struggle. Because if our counterpart from the US doesn't like how we worded it, or the counterpart from China, it doesn't like the way we worded it, then they start challenging it. So we hope that by end of September or end of October, we will have a policy position that we will drive. And I know that sometimes it's short time, but we will work hard to make sure that we share it with everybody and we pull it through. Our first recommendation as the SU20, we said we want startups, if you can have blended finance of startups. You know, like right now, you go to the bank, ABSA, you only gonna rely on this how you are funded. But blended finance basically looks into other ways of funding. Like for example, can TVET colleges be part of this? Can we be supported by local government? Can we be supported by other entrepreneurship? And can there be mentorship programs? And at blended finance, you find that what it does, it helps for you as an entrepreneur not only to be looked from a one-sided point of view in terms of you being funded. And when you look at the way it's going to be implemented, we want transparency in terms of the way the panel is reviewed. You'll see we're going to talk about now when a person comes and applies for finance, most of the time we only look at the credit record, we only look at are they making money, but we forget all other things. And you'll see when we come to other recommendations. Because the most important thing, SMMEs, when they start, they're always at high risk. So the question is that how do we de-risk them to make sure that they're able to be competitive? The second recommendation is that how do we expand credit scoring in an innovative way? Last week I got the opportunity to be part of the Global SMEs Finance Forum. In China, SMEs are not only funded based on the credit score. You know, for example, you go to the bank, they check your credit score, they say, sorry, it's orange, they can't fund you. In China, they look at different ways. I'll give you an example. What they do, they take your bank statement. And when they look at your bank statement, they focus on how do you pay other creditors, regardless of whether you're at the credit bureau or not. You pay your telecom account on time every time. You pay your telephone subscription on time. You pay your other debtors on time. So what it means is that they don't only look at you as a person, they look at your behavior. So the funding model is based on the behavior of the SMME. Now, you know, like someone was mentioning here, to become an SME is tough. You made one mistake, the company went down, you owe a loan of 20,000, you are now blacklisted. Now, when you want to kick off the next one, because you're an entrepreneur, you want to start again, you can't be funded. But now, when I went to this Global SME Finance Forum, it was very interesting as how other companies are. Now there's a company in South Africa called Lula Loans. They have adopted the same. So if you go to Lula, how they fund you, they only look at how you pay other creditors. And they start funding you a little bit, and when you are honest and how you pay them back, then they increase your funding. So this is how what we are doing, that we want an innovative way of basically looking into how we collaborate with record keeping. We can collaborate with telephone companies, municipalities, to make sure that we look at how the SMME is performing. And then we like to, from partnering with them, we like to develop a behavioral model that will be able to look at transparency. And then young people, you know that now SARS has done it, has deployed AI. I don't know if everyone knows. Yeah, SARS now, you cannot run away from them. They've deployed AI. And even that, if we can start looking at AI to assist us to how, in terms of how we fund or how we work with entrepreneurs, that will assist. And then the third recommendation is really how we look at how to integrate stokvels and promote community investment. A lot of stokvels, I know that I heard that stokvels are formal, but what I've seen is that even others, they don't want to put money in the bank. I don't know why. But you need to understand, the fact that stokvels are not formal, it is the issue of trust. People generally don't have trust when it comes to banks. You find that when they bank, the bank will then charge them or will take some money, then it doesn't make sense. So what we want to do is that stokvels are very good ways of raising capital. And if we can use those stokvels to be able to say, as an SMME, don't only buy groceries that you're going to buy in 3 years. That president said that. Look into how can we become a source of investment in other SMMEs. I mean, you need to look at SMEs that are successful. They got investment from somewhere. Your stokvel can become a shareholder in an SMME. Like the farmer, for example. Imagine if part of the chilies, we had stake of 40% as part of selling the chilies. Our stokvel was going to still gain money from that. So we need to be innovative in terms of how we do it. And then again, we need to look into capacity building. I think it was mentioned. That's what we recommend in the policy, that we need to look into how we empower and educate our SMEs, how we facilitate wholesale capacity. Most of the time you find that someone took our sponsor shops. I don't know if you know that Pretoria, that Maraba start. What are the sponsor shops doing? They've got a huge warehouse there. I don't know if anyone has seen it, where all the Pakistani sponsor shops buy from. And they will drive bakkies to Northwest. I see them in the area of breads. They will drive to Pretoria to a warehouse that is owned by them. And all of them collect from one place. So now we need to look into how do we then look at bulk buying. And then after that, we pilot investment funds in terms of making sure that entrepreneurs are be able to expose to how to manage finance. And then the fourth recommendation, we want to look at policy inclusion and then regulatory reform in empowering startups. And I think that in Tatemoholo, there was a lot spoken about policy reforms. But what we are doing is that we are making sure that the policies of South Africa are inclusive in terms of making sure that an SMME can be able to operate anywhere. And then what we do is that most of the policies focus on entrepreneurs in the urban areas. For example, you'll hear your Soweto. If you go to Soweto now, SMMEs are highly organized. But you find that if you go to rural breads or you go to Northwest or the Eastern Cape, SMEs are not formalized. So we want a policy that can recognize. Like, for example, when we sit with SMEs from Soweto, they're not interested in being formal. We always ask them, no, they say, no. Don't tell us about us going to sit in expensive offices in Sandton. We are fine here. But now, how do you help us get access to markets while where we are here? Because they say we pay less rent, we don't have complexities of regulations and all that. So now, when it comes to regulation, there's still some work that we need to do because there is that mistrust again to say, the more you take us away from where we are, you put us a lot of burden, cost-wise and all that. So we need to say, what kind of policy can we develop to make sure that the rural entrepreneurs can benefit? And then you find that simply formalizing us SMEs is not going to help, because others mention issues of taxation. They say, now I'm operating from my garage and I can able to produce. Now you are saying I must now operate in a formal in town when I'm going to be charged for water, for this and all that. So you find that we need to look into how we can help SMEs from there. And then, you know, for example, issue of land, someone mentioned it, that the fact that some of the SMEs are unable to raise capital is because of lack of equity. Let me give you an example. For a white farmer who has a title deed, can easily go raise capital. No bank will say no if there's a title deed. But for a black farmer who does not have a title deed, has a communal land arrangement, you will not be able to raise capital because you are high risk. That's how the banks say you are. And then now, that gives it a problem for SMEs to be able to raise capital. So we need to look into how can we assist them to make sure that we are able to go forward. And then obviously, the fifth recommendation was to scale localized entrepreneurship, education, and capacity building. TVET colleges, I think the university, sometimes we focus too much. I mean, not too much, but sometimes theory is good, but we need to capacitate SMEs with the right information and knowledge. What do we mean by that? Is that when you go out there, you find that SMEs don't even understand, like now, how many can do their own tax returns, SMEs. You always want for someone to do your tax returns. So sometimes we find that when we capacitate our SMEs, we focus on things that do not do every day. We need to focus on tax compliance. We need to focus on following regulations. We need to focus on making sure that when the SME is capacitated, he lives here, he's able to work on that. Digitization is one of the areas that SMEs need to capacity on. And I think someone was, I think the farmer on the goats and all that, they use a lot of social media, use a lot of AI. And these are things that, capacitation that SMEs need. And we need to train. So in our policy, we said our target is to really train 20,000 communities by the year 2030. So there's going to be a drive. So in Dademoholo, what we are saying is that when G20 goes, we are not going to stop. We need to carry on with the work to make sure that we are able to take it from there. All right, the last one obviously is innovation and infrastructure in terms of digital connect. We need to expand that, and we need to make sure that even SMEs are able to make sure that they are connected by themselves. There's a lot of connectivity that has been explained, but there is a lot that needs to be improved. And without the proper infrastructure, SMEs will not thrive. We need to develop that infrastructure for them, and we need to establish township innovation. Obviously, we spoke about TVS college getting involved, and we need to be able to invest in human capital. So all these things, these 5 recommendations, is what we put forward as the task team to say, G20, to the president, please lobby other countries to be able to look at these recommendations and to make sure that Japan, China, and other, Brazil can adopt them. And when they adopt them, at least we can be at the same par. So next year, the G20 will be going to the US, and as we said, that township and rural entrepreneurship is the new topic. So we hope that they will adopt it and we can refine it. Remember, for us, rural might be like it's more in the rural areas. In the US, rural might be a different setup, might be farming communities, and in China it might be a different setup. but we really pushed our level best to make sure that we are able to respond to what the G20 has asked us to do. And with this is that I hope that as soon as the policy is concluded, we will share with everybody, especially the university, just to see where have we gone. And what we are saying is that this is not the final document, but we're still going to work on it. I'd like to thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing the reflections with us. While the lunch is still being prepared, I will open a slot for a few questions, comments. Yeah, just be brief. Ne? I'm just opening this slot. What, Jeleni, you want to say something? Okay. Our table wants to say something. The whole table.
Yeah, we appreciate the effort that is being done, really. And there are just some few things that I picked, but maybe something that I cautioned about, before. Let us not find ourselves in a situation where we are tying up South African SMMEs for the world to devour us easily. And I'll tell you, she just told me something now. She's running a business in Vembe in recycling. She's going to relocate to Polokwane because in Vembe there are no bylaws. So she's a very good entrepreneur. So what I'm saying is that we are not dumb. We know how to run business. The environment is not conducive for us to run a business. So the policy continues to say, we are poor, feel sorry for these people. And that is not the issue. So what we are requesting is that the policies must stop looking at the entrepreneurs, must start to look at government. We are okay. Like I said, the ecosystem knows how to take care of itself. But the moment we interfere, there is a problem. I want to give you 2 examples of interference by the Department of Small Business Development. Some few years, they came up with a program called TRAP. One of the things they were encouraging is that people must have butcheries because there is shortage of meat. And they were funding people to have butcheries. Go and check statistics of stock theft ever since that program. So that is the negativity that it introduced. In the bakery space as well, they encouraged the same thing. Let's fund people to have bakeries and all that. What happened? People who have got money profited by selling the equipments. And these equipments are just sitting there. Now, that was a policy that did not involve us who understand what the ground says. But 2, it did not have the understanding of what an ecosystem is. Now, the last point when it comes to finance. There is a difference between South Africa and Kenya, for example. I think Kenya is one country that is doing very well with cooperatives. So South Africa, it's unlikely, and we can debate this. By the way, let me say this up front. I did financial engineering, and I worked for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange at some point. There is no way ever any economy can have 2 parallel financial systems. It's impossible. It's impossible. So what we need to do is to make sure we have got a conducive environment for me to go and borrow money from the stock exchange. I do not need a different funding. What happened in 2020 when the government gave the banks guarantee money? What was it? Was it 20 billion or what? I can't even remember. The banks didn't distribute that. But had they tried to do that, they were going to collapse the economy. It's like printing money. So, but in short, there are a lot of things that I can say. This is what I'm saying. And can we be invited not to consultation sessions, to engagement sessions, where I sit as a professional, as an advisor in that space, because that has not been done. This is a consultation. The assumption is that I do not know what I need. I must be told what I need. No, I know what I need. The problem is that the environment is not conducive, and policies must start to focus on what government must do for themselves so that we can exist peacefully.
Thank you very much. I call him Dr. President. Yeah, I should believe Texas is part of the SU20. We are having a lady called Mashuru Tinyuko. She's from Mashuru Tinyuko, Nontlantla, which is a strategic funding management company for Texas. We have preached and spoken township economy in Russia, in Venezuela, in Poland, and we have been talking township economy for as long as we remember. However, in terms of village or rural businesses, there is a very selective policy. When a mall has to be built, by all means, rezoning will happen. Title deeds will be put together for that particular mall of the big boys to happen. But when I have a PTO and the PTO states that is my land, it is not considered. In terms of financing, SITFA is there. However, SITFA cannot give out money because people are not compliant. So we are saying, use us, because we don't have a problem to be used as long as we serve our own, to help you get our own very people to be funded. That is what we are looking for. Hence I said, we are township economy. Township economy is us. There is no township economy without us. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be biased. I'm going to take only 3 hands now. Please be brief, ne?
So I just want to also speak to what they said. In terms of compliance, sitting where we are sitting, as SMMEs, yes, we might look like we operate in rural areas, townships. We are compliant, we pay for permits, we pay for memberships that are not supposed to be part of a requirement, but because there's a company or agency that comes to the sector and says, this is what you need to have to be compliant in the sector, we then have to then find ourselves paying yearly memberships for those. But my question comes back to the PTO title deed security issue. It's a pressing matter. And I'll reiterate because I've been asking these questions. Yes, we've been pushed from pillar to post, but I think we need to deal with the elephant in the room to say, what is the plan for government with regards to that? What is the strategy for that? And he said that if a mall is to be built, the title deed happens overnight, the rezoning happens overnight. Yet the very same government will say, we are looking up to SMMEs to grow the economy. Yet the very same government is stifling SMMEs. So what is the strategy with regards to that? We've been hearing, we'll look into it, we are sitting down, but can we get real answers?
Thank you. Guys, there's a breakout session after lunch where some of your questions can be submitted, and then the report will be presented by a Rapacha representative. Let's hear from the student.
Hello, my name is Kanya. I'm 20 years old and I'm currently doing Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Maths. However, I have developed a very good interest in farming, and I've taken it upon myself to do it on my own. Recently, I've been trying to get like hectares, even if it's 5 or 10, and then currently there's a green light where I'm being offered 10 hectares. And now we just have to do the talking of the money. However, they're saying to me that they're going to only give me the PTO, which is the permission to occupy, after I've paid. So I hear you're talking about that there is a difference between a PTO and a title deed. And I want to know formally the difference. And also, since it seems as if it's advisable to get a title deed, how can I then get a title deed instead of using a PTO? Thank you.
Thank you, Kanya, for that question. The question will be answered during a networking session. Ne? The question will be answered during a networking session. Over to you, sir. Second last question.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I think I would like to ask this question or to make this comment, but I feel like, I cannot go out of here without saying this very important, supporting the idea of ecosystem, but then putting it in the context of the spaza shops and foreigners. So I'm not answering from the perspective of a foreigner. I am not answering as a owner of a spaza shop, but as an academic. So my question or issue is, how do we draw the line between a foreigner, national, and a citizen? Because when we look at this, a spaza shop, most of them are citizen. And I might be wrong, but most of them are recognized as citizens of South Africa. So the question now becomes very tricky. How do we draw the line? Are we referring to illegal immigrant, or are we referring to South African citizens who have IDs, who have acquired the citizenship through legal means? And the same question maybe, is also arising in many other areas, not only spaza shop, economic. We have also in academia, in many other areas where, the same issue arises. So please, I would like to understand whether, those citizens, have IDs, they are citizens of South Africa. Are they still foreigners or they are not? Where do we draw the line? Thank you.
Last question, Akamel.
No, thanks very much. I like the concept, but I wanted the departments to be more practical in approach, because we already have retail stores that are operating, and then the regulations and the standard and the expectations, they don't necessarily meet also the product development. We do have a lot of products that are produced, but at some point, they don't meet the market standard. So our government, if it can invest in developing the products and open, so that within the economy that we have, we are able to have a free flow, and that will encourage people to do more businesses. Because the moment we are focused on spaza shops, when we know the real economy is on the retails, those people, most of them, they're investors. Already, some are within G20, but if you go and approach their business that are already existing and say that, please take the local products, we'll be able to develop our products, we'll be able to open up. For example, now, we're having an issue with chickens. There is no stability in terms of AGOA, whether we'll continue with them or what will happen. But if you go and check on the markets, you'll find that there is problems with chickens. So our government must just develop, because most of the farmers that are farming chickens, they will have challenges with conditions, whether the chickens will die or all of sort of challenges. So let's invest in developing the products. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for all the questions. Some of the answers you will get them during the report back from the breakaway sessions in the interest of time. Prof. Nechandama, can you come to the... we want to hand over a small token of appreciations to our guests and our esteemed panelists. So I will be calling people to come and have a photo opportunity and also receive that small token from our university to you, our key partners. Let's give Prof a round of applause. Mr. Muoto, please come and get your token. Mrs. Elise, please. Mr. Mutiba. Now we go to our esteemed panelists. I will start with the president, Dr. Jeledi. Mr. Siema. Mr. Nemasisi. Mr. Emmanuel Mudau. Mrs. Rotondo Musita. Mr. Nico Malulek. Thank you, guys. The media people are requesting a small photo, a group photo with those who got the gifts and the panelists. Yeah, please. and colleagues, Sintumure, you can join the picture. Dr. Sintumure, Mikioni, Frida. Yes, please.
Sebenza uko ngishoda ngemali kodwa masandana ngihlala ngenza implani ufuna ingoma iyotoleza imnandi.
You can join. Thank you so much. I've got one announcement, which is lunch. So those who started the briefing earlier from the boardroom, they must return to the boardroom. The panel members, our visitors, and faculty representatives. We are going to shuttle boardroom for lunch. And then lunch is served at the foyer. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to eat inside the sports hall. And then if I allow you, you must make sure that you leave the place clean, because after our event, there's gonna be a practice for sporting codes. So you can grab your lunch and maybe go outside and then eat and then come back. I'm sorry for that. Do you want to say something? Guys, after lunch we are reconvening here. Please come back. This is not the end of the program. Thank you.